Hello and welcome to the Freedom Zone, where the truth is set free whether you like it or not. I'm your host Candace, and we are here today on the July 4th show, and we want to talk about a few things that you probably overlooked or the media has been sure they've overlooked so you don't think about it. It's a wonderful day to be an American. I'd like to talk about and this may be getting old, but the Democratic debate and all the crazies that showed up for that and hope to be a president, I suppose, or more importantly, I guess they just want to get the donations, and a lot of that money can go back in their pocket if they don't win. Every single one of the candidates, quote unquote, are for allowing health care for illegals. Some more radical than others, but they all want to pay for health care for illegals, especially California. California wants to pay for all kinds of health care until you're like 25 if you're an illegal, and bring back the Obamacare mandate so that people that are like me and you who are Americans can pay for nothing. Basically, when I had Obamacare insurance, I paid for nothing, and then I still had to cash pay because no one would take my insurance. However, if I didn't do that, then at the end of the year I'd get penalized. But they're all for giving health care to illegals. Now, here's the thing about health care. You don't have insurance. You're whoever you are. You're illegal, you're legal, you're whatever. It's up to the hospitals, if you go into an emergency room, to stabilize and treat you. That's the law. Now, you're supposed to pay something if you don't have insurance. You're supposed to cash pay and then pay your bill as you can, a little at a time, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's happened to a lot of people. It's happened to me. That's not a big deal. However, it's wrong for someone to come in and say, well, this person who isn't from here, who doesn't have our legal rights, who isn't an American, can have this free, but yet you have to pay. That doesn't work out for me. Another thing that really bothers me, and this is more important than anything else, our seniors do without. They live on, a lot of them don't have a whole lot of savings. They live on Social Security. They live with Medicare as their health care. Plus now they're having to pay about $100, $120 a month for their Part B Medicare, which didn't used to exist. My grandmother just had Medicare, and it paid for 80% of everything, and that was doctor visits, whatever. Now you have to have Part B, or it only pays for hospitalization. That's wrong. Why is that wrong? Because every single time that this person who's retired got paid, there was about 6.25% of their check taken out involuntarily. It's not like you can say, oh, don't take mine out this week. You have to take that out. Then your employer has to match that exact same amount and send it to the government to take care of your Social Security and Medicare needs for later when you get older. Okay, that's fine, but can you tell me why I see people like my father, I see people like my uncle, I see people like the retired CB that we talked to Saturday night who have no teeth. There's no dental program for seniors. They're suffering. And I mean, teeth are very, very important when it comes to things like your heart. If your teeth are in bad shape, your heart gets in a bad shape. I mean, you've got seniors who have to choose between food or medicine because they don't have enough for both. Bernie and all these others are saying that everybody should have $15 an hour. It's a living wage, blah, blah, blah. Well, why are most seniors living on less than like $1,600 a month? Why is that? Why don't you want to take care of them first? Because most of them have paid taxes their whole life, and it's time for them to relax a little bit and at least be taken care of health-wise. They also, the Democratic debates, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, everybody wants to change being illegal, which is as we went through last week, it's outside the law when you're illegal. Inside the law is legal. So now, instead of people who walk over the border being outside the law as illegal, they want to make that like just a civil penalty. It's just a little civil penalty, not a big deal. That's just complete and total crap. I was listening to Hugh Hewitt this morning, and this one guy called in. He's trying to legitimately bring his wife and child over here from another country. It's costing him out the wazoo, and it's taking forever because of all these illegals that have come over the border. The Democratic Party is not interested in any of us. It's pretty obvious through the debates that they're more interested in the illegals, which, as I've said before, the way to change your demographic is to get rid of the original people in your demographic and replace them with others who are more malleable, which is what they're wanting to do because they're offering them free everything, which is not a bad deal, except free is never free. Somebody has to pay. Usually it's you and me. The Democrats aren't worried about the homeless in general. They're not worried about homeless veterans. There's tons of crimes that have been perpetrated against women and children and elderly and others by people who are in this country illegally. That's fine. Just let it go. These people are either dead or are seriously wounded and traumatized for the rest of their life because someone who wasn't supposed to be here is here. And that's wrong. And it just makes absolutely no sense. And my conclusion of all the things that the Democrats are offering us this year, you've got a beautiful, shiny gold necklace with a big diamond slide on it, and you're real happy with that, and you like it, you look at it, you're thinking, wow, this is great. They're offering you a rock. And then not only are they offering you a rock, they're going to hit you in the head with the rock. So there's your choices. You either have your beautiful 18 karat gold chain with your beautiful diamond slide on it, or a rock which they'll pick up and hit you in the head with. It doesn't seem like a very hard choice to me. And another one that is so outspoken and so totally incorrect and so totally misinformed is every week's feature on my show, and I guess everyone else's, Alejandra Ocasio Cortez. She has gone to the border at last, and has forced her way in and looked around and has told the world, the news, that we are making people drink from the toilet. That's absolute and complete bogus BS because a group of pastors went through the same exact facility she did like a week before, and they found them satisfactory, although they're not great because these facilities were never designed for women, children, and families. They were mostly designed for single detainees, and that's what they're made for. However, on the toilet water issue, it's not the toilet water you dab behind your ears. Here's a picture of what's in the holding cells. It is a toilet tank. It has a sink and a toilet together because there's very little room in these areas. There's two separate water lines that go into these things. There's the sink line and there's the toilet line. Yes, they're both water lines. Yes, they're near the toilet, but it is not drinking out of the toilet, as this woman is wont to screech loudly from her Mercedes or SUV or whatever luxury car she was driving in, or was being driven. Actually, she didn't drive. That people that are being detained are being forced to drink toilet water and not given adequate water and food and things like that. Everything that I've seen from the news when they're touring those facilities, there's food, there's water. As the Border Patrol people have said, they bring in a lot of their own clothes from their children and leave them for the use of these people who come and their children. They bring toys, they bring all kinds of things, and they treat these people and their children like family, like their own children. Now, if someone gets out of line, there may be an issue. I don't know about that. I'm not there every day. However, number one, you're not supposed to be here. Number two, it is by our good grace that you are being fed and and also by our good grace, that you're being salvaged from the desert, because a lot of these people are just about dead when they get here. And number 4, if any children are imperiled by this issue, it's because their parent, either the mom, the dad, or both, or somebody who the parent has turned the child over to, has put them in peril. I would never walk across the desert with my child when she was young. That would have been crazy. My idea is that I protect her at all costs because I'm her mother. And that's the way most parents do think. Most parents should think that way. At least you would hope so. But this woman, this Alejandra Ocasio Cortez, she's either, like I said, an extreme attention whore, or the Democrats have put an actress in that position to make noise. Although I don't see how Nancy Pelosi's dealing with that, because she's not chastising her or her 2 bestest buddies, which is Talib and Ilhan Omar, on anything that they do or say. She's just letting them run rampant like a chicken with their heads cut off. They're just running around, and they're making noise. It's totally, it's a lie, number 1. It's not true. And this is part of Saul Alinsky's doctrine. You know, if you want to get something changed, you tell a lie, and you tell a lie, and you tell it over and over and over and over until everybody believes that it's true. And that's the way you start this propaganda thing, where everybody is believing something that is absolutely invalid. You've got to see that these people are are sending out propaganda, or propagandizing, I guess would be the word, about things that aren't true. And you know better than, I mean, the prisoners in this country, they do okay. I mean, they're still in prison, but they have the amenities that they need. They have the food they need. They have the medical care they need. No one is beating anybody on a chain gang anymore. That's just totally bogus. It's not true. And the more that they say it, the more offended you should be as an American, because it is not true. In fact, we are the kindest people in the world, and we help everybody in the world, and we give them all money, and then they turn around and talk smack about us. I don't agree with that. And that was one thing I liked about Nikki Haley when she was in the UN as the ambassador. If you went against us on any of these votes, she was writing your name down, and the president got the list. I mean, it's like, you know, 3rd grade, where the teacher leaves the room and leaves little Johnny in charge of writing down names of anyone who talks. So she got all your names. Your care and your money that you get from us is in peril because you won't support us. But the people like Alejandra Ocasio Cortez, they're just plain out lying. It's just plain out lies. And even if it wasn't a lie, it's still ridiculous to even entertain the thought that anyone would tell somebody to drink from the toilet. I mean, only dogs do that. Anyway, on our next session, we'll talk about something else the Democrats have come up with, called reparations. So join us for the next segment, and I'm your host, Candace, and I'll see you in a few minutes after the break.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Hi, I'm Rhonda the Mattress Lady, and this is my husband Gary, owners of Mattress Overstocked in LJ next to Walmart. And we want to earn your business. From the time you walk in our door to the time we deliver your new mattress to your door, you will see the difference. Our selection and prices are the best in North Georgia, and customer service is our top priority. So y'all come on in and let us help you find the right mattress at the right price. That's Mattress Overstocked in LJ next to Walmart.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World. In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Hello and welcome back to the Freedom Zone for our second half. I'm your host Candace, and I'm here to talk about some things that may have been overlooked or maybe you forgot about or didn't get taught in school. And this is another thing that comes under the Democratic debate BS, which is slavery reparations. I would like to discuss the facts about slavery in the United States. In the United States, yes, African slaves, along with other races and indentured servants, were brought in to the U.S. in the Middle Passage, which was over by ships from Africa. About 12.5 million Africans were shipped to the New World. Of them, 10.7 million survived this passage and disembarked in North America, which is here, and the Caribbean and South America. Only, now listen to this, 388,000 were transported directly from Africa to North America, which is here, and were sold as slaves in the United States. Children, African children, comprised 26% or more of the slave ship's human cargo. However, because of the filthy conditions and epidemic pathogens and periodic outbreaks of violence resistance, only 12 or 13% of those embarked survived. About 12 and 13% of those that had embarked in the beginning of the journey arrived. They did not arrive. I'm sorry, they did not arrive. The importation of African slaves into America was banned by Congress under constitutional command in 1808. Yet by 1860, the nation's black population had jumped from 400,000 to 4.4 million, of which 3.9 million were slaves. The primary reason of this was natural increase, as in people have babies. So most of the slaves in the United States had between 9 and 10 children. Now, is that anything unusual? No. Every family, if they had a family, had between 9, 10, 11 or more children. Not all of them always survived, but that was normal. There was no birth control. If you were married, you had children. And the slave mother who gave birth to 9 or 10 children was twice as many children as a slave mother that had in the West Indies. Now, why was that? Because they were treated better here. Because when they were slaves, they were considered, for the most part, and I know there are people who were mean to people and mean to their slaves. I know that, but for the most part, they were treated pretty well. They had health care, they had homes, they had food, they did work, and I'm not saying that slavery's anything but an abomination and an evil, but they were treated well enough to proliferate to 9 or 10 children each. So, that being said, they weren't too terribly unhealthy as a rule. Now, there were some free Negro people. They were classified as mulattoes. About 40% of the southern free slaves were mulattoes, while only 1 slave in 10 had some white ancestry. But largely because of natural increase, that's why the slavery proliferated here in the United States up until 1863. Now, there was the Second Middle Passage. That was within the end of the Revolutionary War and the start of the Civil War. But mostly after that, the Middle Passage and the slave trade by ship was over, it became mostly local and domestic slave trade. They would sell people, they would take slaves and sell them from the northern part of the South to the southern part of the South. And I don't know if anyone remembers Gone with the Wind, but one of the things that Scarlett would threaten Prissy with was she would sell her South. And as you know, in the South, it's very hot, like Louisiana, Mississippi. There's a lot of cotton, rice. All the South Carolina had rice, and then there's cotton and all the other. And so it was a lot of hard work. There's also sugar cane in the West Indies, and that was really hard work, and in Cuba too. And the cotton trade, of course. The cotton trade made up most of the southern area of the U.S.'s economy. Of the 3.2 million slaves working in the 15 slave states by 1850, 1.8 million of the slaves worked in cotton, on cotton plantations. In 1860, and these are the important statistics because they're talking about reparations. Okay, who's going to pay reparations? How many people actually had slaves? And this is what we want to talk about. By the year of 1860, 31% of all slaves in the U.S. were held on plantations of 40 slaves or more. Okay, how many people did everybody in the South and all the areas that had slaves, were they all rich planters? Were they all plantation owners? No, they weren't. Most people, if they were anything, they had a small farm. They had just a small working farm, not a plantation. So the thing is, only about 1% of the population owned slaves, being in a quantity of 40 or more. So 1% owned the majority of the slaves. So how are you going to come back and make reparations for something that you can't even calculate? And like I say, there's a lot of other slaves that came over too, like the Irish and the people who were indentured. But it's just it's unimaginable to say that we're the only country that held slaves, because the Ottoman Empire, Eastern Europe, and Asia also had slaves. So it's not just us, and I'm getting really tired of getting the blame for something that, of course, I had nothing to do with because I was not alive then, and probably you weren't either. And it's just amazing to me how anybody thinks they could properly or correctly or fairly make reparations for all the slaves. Not only did they have black slaves. They also had Native American slaves. And Native Americans themselves owned slaves. It's so convoluted as far as who owned who and what that there's no way, possibly no way, to figure out how you are going to make these reparations. It's just some more patronizing of minorities. Here, have $1, you'll be all right. We're so sorry. That is just insulting. To me, that's the very definition of racism. You're categorizing people and telling them, oh, poor thing, you can't achieve because certain things happened. That's crazy. You can achieve anytime you want to. You really have to have the desire, and you can work at it, and a lot of times you can get help. And there's a lot of opportunities in this country, as many people have brought up. So you're really kind of patronizing and going back to this Democratic plantation crap that I don't think washes anymore, because right now we've got the lowest African American unemployment ever. People are working and they're happy. And going back to my analogy before, we all have the beautiful 18-karat gold chain with the beautiful diamond slide on it, and you're being offered a rock that they're going to pick up and throw at you later. Because believe me, when it comes down to funding this, it's going to be you and me, because we're taxpayers, we work, and that's unfortunate. And there's no free lunch, as Will Rogers has said many times. There never will be. Nothing's ever free. But what I want to ask you as we close on this holiday week, and it's the 4th of July, which is our very most important holiday, because this is the day that we declared our independence from England. And the people that declared that, they were very, very, they're putting themselves in bad risk, because they were well-to-do. They were going against a king, which is, the monarch. He had absolute power. But yet they went and wrote the Declaration of Independence. They signed it on July the 4th. And I'd like to know, or like for you to think about, what it means for you to be an American. For me, my family came over here in around 1690, and my family fought in the Revolutionary War and the Civil War on both sides, World War I, World War II, Korea. My husband fought in Vietnam and Panama and Grenada for the Army. So for me, we are the bastion of freedom. We are the ones that the world goes to when things are so bad, like in Nazi Germany when the Holocaust was going on, or in Russia with the Communist Revolution, the Bolsheviks and all that. We're the salvation, we're the refuge, we're the place where people go. They can come to this country. In Ellis Island, they had to have at least $18, which back then was a lot more than it is now, but they had to have at least $18 to come into this country and be healthy. And they were able to come. Many of them couldn't even find jobs, because as I've said before, a lot of help wanted signs also included "No Irish need apply." So they made their own job. They sewed clothes, they were tailors, they were shoemakers, cobblers, they were butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, and they made their own life. Our flag, which means 50 states, and the blood and the sweat and the tears that people have put into it, such as all these ancestors of mine, and I'm sure yours too, it means something. It means a lot to us. And our president is having a parade tomorrow. He's having a military parade as well, and there'll be a show of our military force, which I think it's kind of exciting to show what we've done. Our technology is superior. Everybody wants to buy the things that we have created. We hope we never have to use them, as the president says, but we have the might to do that. And we don't use it to crush people, to subjugate people under our heel. Mostly we save their behind, like in the Special Forces motto, de oppressor libre. You're freeing the oppressed. We're freeing the people who are living under a despot. Even with North Korea, our president is trying to entice Kim Jong-un to say, look, you could help your people. It could look like Vietnam. People could live well, and that would be great. So when you enjoy your barbecue and all that we have on the 4th of July, and that's a very special tradition, and it means a lot to us, and you go to your parade, your local parades, think about what it means to you to be American and what it's worth to you to maintain this shining city on the hill where people can come to when there's no other place to go. And if we destroy this, where is the last refuge? Save heaven, there isn't any. There's no country in the world like ours, and God knows we have our faults. But there's no country in the world like the United States of America. And I say God bless the USA. Have a happy 4th, and join us next week on the Freedom Zone.